cabbage. I'm so behind on my Drag Race. Like, we just finished watching Loki last night. We're a little behind on our Loki. Trying to finish Handmaid's Tale, which I like, but it's a slog. Handmaid's Tale is a slog.
Be prepared for being mentally drained, like on all levels.
Every episode, I'm mentally drained by The Handmaid's Tale. It's so heavy, which I like. Yeah. It's a great story. Don't get me wrong. It's so interesting, but just like, oh my God, give this woman a break. June Osborne. And then we decided last night to watch The Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt.
Oh, that's on the list.
I hated it, but I do think it. How do I say this? Because I don't want to give it away. Do you know it's about like a war in the future, and they're sending people to the future to fight the war, and it's not going so cute. I do like some of the science behind it. I like some of the science behind it. They do a good job with the science, but I really love Chris Pratt in Parks and Rec, and I like him as Star-Lord too. But this movie kind of like makes him a full-blown serious action star. He doesn't quip in this. And quipping is important to Chris Pratt, I've realized. It's important.
Yeah, I mean, he birthed it. He didn't birth it, but I would say Vince Vaughn is kind of like the in recent memory godfather of that weird quipping, comedy quipping.
Well, I'm going to say, I think Chris Pratt kind of spearheaded it in terms of quipping in action. You know, people have done it before, but I think he's really well known for, his comedic one-liners and Guardians. And I think now he's created a brand for himself, whether he knows or not. This movie's, God, it's dumb, but I do like the science behind it. But and sorry, as much as I like Chris Pratt, but I also don't like Chris Pratt because I heard some rather unsavory things about him in his personal life, but we won't get into it. I will never watch that movie again. What I do want to watch, and hopefully I find time this weekend, is, have you seen it advertised on Netflix, Fear Street?
She watched it last
night. It got really good reviews.
It is, I'm stealing this from somebody else. Quote, Scream for lazy people.
Oh, I love Scream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know, and I know.
That's hilarious. It's Scream for lazy people.
It's a Scream for a new. So what you're saying is it's Scream for this generation.
Yeah, it's for sorry, Gen Zers. We love you. If you're the listener from Belgium, we love you, but you're lazy. The millennials are overworked. We all work 2 jobs. We're still in debt. We don't own property. We're not lazy. We're just tired.
Yeah, we're just tired and thinking about what movies used to be like when Scream was out. Jesus, like the amount, the slasher style, like get rid of the bodies, it doesn't matter who it is, style of this show is insane.
I can't wait.
You read the Fear Street books, right?
I read like 1 or 2. I didn't read many of them. I read more of the Goosebumps, which he did, R.L. Stine. But I've read like 1 or 2. And I remember thinking, like, back when I was a kid, I was like, oh, this is the same author. But I'm like, it's not Goosebumps. It was fine. I don't remember disliking it. But the trailer for this looks awesome. And the reviews, they're like rarely do horror movies get like 9s, So like this is like certified fresh, I think.
Oh, yeah. And okay. So here's the tea. Like, here's the nostalgia. Okay, toot toot. Here comes the nostalgia train. Me and my sister were heavily invested in Fear Street novels.
Oh.
Like the way that we were heavily invested in the Babysitters Club novels. It was just something that when the book order came, we circled the Fear Street novel.
Right.
And the Babysitters Club book, and then we sent that shit away. Like we're right into the way that they're doing the show is amazing. I don't know that this 1994 stuff happens though. Like maybe
it's no good question. So what I understood from reading, not the plot, but just kind of like the production notes on Wikipedia, it's not this 1994 is not a specific Fear Street novel. It borrows ideas from some of the other books. So it's kind of like a melange But same with part 2, which is next week, and then part 3 the week after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that the saga of Sarah Fear is at the root of all of the evil that is in, is it Sunnyvale and
Sunny.
Shadyside?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that is Fear Street lore. There's a whole series of like like colonial times style Fear Street novels.
That's the third movie this time.
That if you want to just like catch up, because you can read these books in a night. I didn't realize when I was like, in the fifth or sixth grade, that you can actually in your 30s read one of these or two of these books like in 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, they're
So
quick.
yeah, if you want to catch up real quick, anybody, and you want to get in on that good lore, the Fear Saga, um, it's available at your public library, on Hoopla, et cetera, et cetera.
Hoopla,
Um,
yes.
yeah, and it's proper witch. It's proper witches that people who weren't witches just assume witches did this shit.
Hmm.
That's what those books are. They're like murderesses who eat children and like are hexing people left and right. That's the Fear Sisters. Anyway.
Very that, yes.
Mm.
One last note before we actually get into Loki, which I imagine that's what people are here listening for. Scream for a second. Do you know there's a fifth one coming out in January, and
Uh,
it's gonna have Courtney and David and Nev Campbell, and I'm so excited. I have predictions, but I don't know if this is too long of an intro, and we need to do another episode where we rank the Scream films and then do predictions for number 5, because
mhm.
I'd be so down for that. You know, I love my
Yes.
Nev Campbell. And,
And yeah.
and she's from Guelph. Like, we have to stand.
Yes, she's a proper Canadian.
Mhm.
I don't know how I found this out. Oh, I somehow fell down like a Heather Matarazzo like hole.
Oh,
Found
she
out she was in it.
she's in Scream 3. She is Randy's sister. Yeah.
Yeah, Randy played by Jamie Kennedy, who is my favorite character.
Great character.
Ah,
Great
God,
character.
he's the Mobius in the Scream world.
Oh. Does that lead us right into Loki? That might be our Loki segue. That's as good as it's gonna get for us, because we'll keep talking forever.
True. Okay, so before we get into this, I do want to point out that it has been now pointed out to me
Mm.
through text messages. Have we mentioned that Mobius is the he's modeled after Marvel Comics legend Mark Grunwald, who R.I.P. died in 1996, but the reason why they sort of modeled him after him is because he had like encyclopedic knowledge of the entire Marvel universe. So does Mobius.
Oh, so was Mobius then an original character for the show?
No,
Oh.
that's yeah. The article that was sent to me was kind of like poorly written. It's like it's like not a staple. What's that word? It's canon. Where if you look at pictures of Mobius from the comics, he looks his hair is darker, his mustache is also dark.
I see that.
He's a little more gaunt, and he looks like Mark Grunwald.
Yeah, okay. And I'm looking now here. Okay, yeah. He right. And then okay, so actually they paid tribute to Mark through the storyline with the TVA in the Thor comics, actually. So that's, yeah. Well, I mean, that makes sense, right? With what you just said. I
Mm.
just said it kind of backwards. But
Mm. Yeah, give it more research because honestly, and I guess we'll shout this out. Even though it was asked, have we mentioned it? Which means he hasn't been listening because we haven't mentioned it. It was Michael that messaged me like at 2 a.m.
well, first of all, thank you, Mike, for listening to the podcast, Michael. We appreciate it. Jolie gives a dirty look. She's like, mm-hmm. She's pointing out our mistakes. No, that's all good stuff. And like I said, I'm not very good with the Thor comics or Captain America's. So yeah, I this is a point for me to kind of learn a little bit more about Mobius, which, the way this episode went this week, initially I might have thought, well, I don't need to learn anything more about him. He dead. But is he? I don't know now. I don't think he is. Mm-mm.
No, I don't
Mm-mm.
think any of them are.
Do you want to break it down, girl?
Yes. Okay. So I'll start with should I start with my number one or should I start with my number three? Loki, Loki is, wait.
I was gonna say, sorry. We should give just a quick recap of what happened. I'll do it.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay. Go ahead.
I'll do it. Okay. So, um, this episode, I think, really finally shows its hand. We finally see some behind the scenes of what's going on. There's still more questions, which we love because that gives us WandaVision vibes, and that's the last time we truly felt alive. So what happens is that we get some exposition, some backstory about Ravonna Renslayer, and she was the one that initially sought out a much younger Sylvie, who was a Loki variant in a different Asgard. I'm assuming it looked like Asgard,
Mhm.
and brought her back to the TVA to prune her. And um, Sylvie escaped as a kid, which is hilarious. And then Ravonna had to go and answer to the timekeepers, and that plays on later on. But that's yeah, the timekeepers. And so that plays on later on. That's the backstory that we start with. But then we cut to present day. Loki and Sylvie are, they're on Lamentus, and they're like, we're screwed. This planet's about to go up. And Mobius and Hunter B-15 are able to locate that a giant Nexus event is occurring because they shouldn't be in that apocalypse before it crashes. I'm assuming that's kind of why that Nexus energy was going so high, I think.
Yeah,
And
which is crazy because variant energy doesn't show up. But if a Nexus branch starts to grow and it starts to grow rapidly, then they see that thing on their little time charts. And it's crazy because it's like it's super spikes. And that's how they know. Which
right.
last episode of Full Volume, we are like, there's no way that they're going to be able to find them because Nexus energy doesn't show up. Or, I mean,
Mm,
variant energy. And wouldn't you know, that's exactly how they're found.
how convenient.
Right. Okay. Sorry. Go on.
So, anyways, at the last second, the portal opens. They jump through, but they're apprehended by the TVA. They're separately interrogated. Loki gets his own personal cyclical kind of hell where he runs into Lady Sif after he cuts her hair off, and she comes and punches him and boots him in the nuts, um, which is great. And so eventually there's some exchanges there between Mobius and Loki, where Loki says the TVA is lying to you. Everybody working at the TVA is in fact a variant. And then Hunter B-15, he kind of mentions that to Hunter B-15, I think, and Hunter B-15's like, the fuck? And so she goes and visits Sylvie, separately, and brings Sylvie and her go to that supermarket in Alabama, which is where Lady Loki, I don't like that, the Loki variant Sylvie first showed up, and she is able to use her powers there because it's not the TVA, which makes sense, and then shows her all of her memories, and that's enough to convince Hunter B-15. And then after that, we have a scene where basically Mobius is he's kind of just suspicious of Ravonna, and so he steals her. I don't know what you call that. It looks like a Polly Pocket, but it's not.
It's a Polly Pocket for time. It's a time pad,
It's a
time pocket.
temporal Polly Pocket, yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. And so Mobius just had that little voice in the back of his head where it said, maybe just follow Loki's claim. And sure enough, Ravonna is in on it. She is the one that pruned Hunter C-20, who was the hunter that was at the Margarita Bar last episode,
Mhm.
who had all of her memories restored by Sylvie because Sylvie was looking through and manipulating her. So anyways, at this point, Ravonna is on to Mobius, and Mobius gets pruned, you guys. She gets the big old zap. And yeah, she gone. Well, is she? Like,
Right?
as far as the audience knows, she gone. And so, anyways, Loki and Sylvie are then taken up to the timekeepers because the timekeepers themselves want to see the two Loki variants pruned. A fight breaks out. Sylvie and Loki get the upper hand for sure. and Sylvie ends up throwing a spear at one of the timekeepers, and they turned out to be an animatronic Chuck E. Cheese robot, basically. And
Yep.
so, which is great. You know what I find too? This is
Mm,
tangent number one. Oh, no, I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it for one of my things because it's like, again, it's an aesthetic observation of mine.
okay.
Anyways, so yes, they're Chuck E. Cheese robots. They have been felled, but clearly that's not the end of the TVA. So like, who created those robots and like who was really, pulling the strings? But at that point, what happens is Ravonna comes from behind and prunes our male Loki, our 2012 New York City variant Loki, and Loki's pruned. But a mid-credits scene reveals that Loki, our 2012 New York City failure Loki, has woken up, and it actually does look like a desolate New York City, but he is greeted by a bunch of different Loki variants of all shapes, sizes, genders, races, origins, species.
Species.
Yeah. And that is it. That is the tea.
uh, just as I was gagging for air, um, the end credits scene rolled, and I was like, wait. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this is how they do it. Until Jordan. Okay, let's go through our list. Okay.
Girl, let's do it.
Okay, I'm gonna start because I think the two and my honorable mention have to do with your aesthetic observations. Okay, so everyone loves a good reference. Everyone loves a good historical / mythological reference. So clocking in at number 1 on my list of favorite things about this episode is Sif and her appearance. 1, super awesome. 2, the reference in North Norse mythology, where
Yes.
Loki cuts off her hair, which they also did in the comics, which is great. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this wouldn't get any better if it were, what's that show that had like ties to Greek mythology?
Um, is it recent?
Early 2000s.
Early 2000s. I was going to say American Gods. It has loose ties to Norse mythology.
Mm.
But that just got
Uh,
canceled. Fucking stars. It was good. Did you watch it? It
I
was like it
The
was
first
like
couple episodes.
okay. It was messy, but it was good.
Yeah.
Very stylistic.
Yeah. I have to get really into it. You know how that passive thing where you like watch TV, but you're also on your phone? Yeah, you can't do that with that show.
No, I
There's a couple
agree.
shows, yeah. And
Yeah, sir.
American Gods, one of them.
No, can't do it with that one.
Hmm. Also, you can't fold laundry. You pretty much have to be staring at the screen and listening actively. But anyway,
Yeah.
so that one she's got to get back to. Also, you can't turn it on when you're half asleep, trying to sleep at night. Anyway, okay,
Agree.
so they end up. The story goes Loki cuts off Sif's hair because he's jealous of her. In the books and in the mythology, Sif is married to Thor. Um, which we know doesn't continue. It's not a relationship that endures. But
No.
anyway, in this part of the story, he cuts off her hair due to jealousy. Thor makes him replace it. And he finds the king of dwarves and has the king of dwarves replace it with golden hair. And um, that's where the similarities kind of end. In the books, she already has golden hair, which is part of why Thor fell in love with her. But when Loki goes to replace it, the dwarves, as punishment for Loki not repaying them for their craftsmanship, they make her hair out of night, and they give her black, like
Mhm.
raven black hair, which, unbeknownst to Loki, you know, Thor is into brunettes. So he actually ends up loving it more than her golden hair. Foiled. So anyway, that clocks into my number 1, that little hint at the mythology that's used in the comics and mythology that exists in real life. Fun, fun,
Yeah,
fun.
that's a nice crossover for sure.
Mm-hmm.
My my first thing that I liked about this episode was, yes, I'm gonna go back to the animatronics. I think just in general in TV and movies, we're slowly heading back towards low budget looking effects. You know, like I'm wondering too if it's, oh no.
Oh yeah, well I agree.
Yeah.
Practical
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
name of the
practical.
game.
Yeah, it really is right now. We've started to move away from CGI, I feel like, and those robots were just like a perfect like example of that. We're moving back into like the Power Rangers corny level of like robotics and whatnot. So I just love those stylistic choices, and it's so cheesy that you almost like believe that it's so futuristic. Do you know what I mean? There's like almost like this like sense of disbelief where it's like, oh, this is such far advanced technology, these robots, and it looks like crap, but like it's bringing us back to like those golden ages of television where it's just like the most tacky, you know, fake looking robot, but for some reason it feels more real than like a CGI robot,
Oh yeah.
you
It's
know?
giving me Jurassic Park, it's giving me Baby Yoda,
Mm. Yeah, we're back in, and I'm
giving
here
me
for it.
actual Yoda. Like
I'm wondering, I don't know what's driving it, but like I feel like in general, maybe not with Loki, but I feel like because of COVID and maybe a little bit before COVID too, because streaming was so popular that a lot of TV shows had lower budgets, I'm thinking, because they didn't have to pay for advertising or like any of that stuff. Um, so I'm thinking that's probably why. I haven't fully thought this thought out in my head, but there's clearly been a push back towards practical though. And I'm wondering what's driving that.
I wonder if horror has anything to do with it as well. Because a lot of The Walking Dead is practical gore. And it is so realistic. And
Mhm.
honestly, I think that I feel I'm going to posit that the birth of 3D began and ended with Avatar.
Oh God. Yeah, I'm not a 3D person at all. I
And
hate 3D.
oh yeah, and that was all special effect. There was barely any practical, and it's hard to hide when when you're not in 3D. Um, and it's not as popular, or it's falling out of favor. And gone are the days maybe of hiring every small animation company to just use all of their computer power to like render your effects.
Yeah.
Well, like you know what I mean? Like at the end of like the latest Marvel film, at the end of that thing, there's like 50 houses of animators that are just listed after ILM, and it's like it's crazy how many people are involved when there could be a small team involved and it's all practical. I mean, it takes longer, but where are the savings when you think about it?
Yeah. But also it just looks better. Like I get
Mm-hmm.
that like CGI's come a long way. I understand that. But I mean just like
Mm-hmm.
practical just looks better.
Yeah, there's some uncanny valley shit that I'm just not down with when you CGI humans, and that
Hmm.
they have not figured that out yet.
No.
Mm-mm.
So that's my number one slash number three, whatever order we were going in. But that's my first thing.
Awesome, cool. Number two for me is Mobius is pruned.
That's my number two.
Is it number?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Oh, yay, good. Okay. So I don't know what I like it because the idea that a main character can be pruned or killed off is insane.
Hmm.
But now that we have seen that end credit scene, maybe he's not gone after all. But the thing is, where is he?
Yeah, and like I mean, like a couple episodes ago, I was kind of like he was kind of listed in my positives before with him and Loki. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna love this like this buddy, book good guy, bad guy relationship, and like it didn't really evolve, and it kind of just they did not run with that ball, and so his relationship with Loki kind of became a disappointment a little bit. It feels a little forced, and it feels a little difficult to follow their trajectory. So I was actually okay with him getting pruned. I'm almost a little bummed actually that he's coming. He might not be dead now that that same thing happened to Loki because it didn't work out for me. So the only thing I was thinking of when it happened, like when Mobius got pruned, I was like, okay, that was a weird choice. Don't know if I hate it, but also like just so out of the blue, is this going to drive Loki's character forward? So,
Yeah.
but I mean, now that we know that Loki's not dead, that kind of cancels out that train of thought. So I don't know. I'm just saying I would not be upset if Mobius didn't return at this point because they haven't been doing a great job kind of making him relate to Loki and where does he fit in the bigger picture. It's just like, why are you here, man?
Like when he was in the library and they're like getting their research on, that was fine. I liked personally, I didn't like Mobius, but you convinced me that he could be a cool character if they buddy copped the two of them, but
They didn't do a good job.
no. And then when he finds out that he is a variant, when Loki like spills his guts about to him in order,
Mhm.
like in an attempt to turn him to their side, he like sort of doesn't believe Loki. And then when he does and steals that Polly Pocket,
Mhm.
knowing he'll get pruned, it was like a cascade of really like rushed thoughts or character like beats. And it didn't him knowing that he was a variant didn't last long enough for me, but I guess it lasted long enough for Marvel to give him the snap.
Yeah. Ooh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
that's gonna that's gonna live on in our cultural lexicon for a long time. The snap. We all know what that means. We all saw Avengers: Infinity War.
Yeah. I mean, everybody and their nephew's dog saw that movie. So
Hmm. Okay, so that's
anyway.
both our number two.
Mm-hmm.
My
What's
number
your
one.
number?
Well, I guess my number one is I don't, it's not so much maybe, it's something that's kind of implied, I guess. It's not something that like directly hit you in the face, but the fact that those three Chuck E. Cheese robots are not the timekeepers, that's my number one pick because it brings up a bigger question of what the heck is going on. So in that case, does that count as a thing I liked about this episode? Like, I guess it's like a fake out. Yeah, I like the fake out of these robots being the timekeepers. They are not. We still don't know who's behind it. I have some ideas who I think it might be, but we can we can wrestle with those whenever you're ready to talk about it.
Mine is the exact same.
Oh, sweet.
Um, it is the timekeepers are Oz puppets, or as
Mhm.
I like to say, Lester's Possum Park.
So
Do 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 do.
who do you
Yeah,
think it is? Do you think it's Miss Kang?
I
Um,
think so.
you think it's Miss Kang, or do you think it's a lot of people are saying it's actually a Loki variant, get pruning all the other Loki variants so that he's the only Loki variant in existence. So that there's
That
already a Loki variant that conquered the TVA a long time ago, and he's getting rid of all the other Lokis because he knows they would have um, similar motives, and so he wants to like basically nip them all in the butt so that they don't mess with him, which I could see fits into his character, but also Kang seems more epic.
Yeah, and introducing Kang would make more sense to the overall Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline.
So is
With
Kang though,
Mhm.
because this whoever this person is clearly likes to operate in the shadows. They don't like the visibility of this role. They have
Mhm.
three animatronic robots pretend to be the timekeepers. So it Kang to me sounded like a more brash in your face type of villain. Although I guess the same could be said for Thanos, where Thanos was kind of elusive for the first like two movies he cameoed in, and he only like really made himself known. Which was his first movie where like he really kind of, I guess it would have been an Infinity War. Like he was in the others, but he didn't really come out to the main stage. So
Mhm.
that's just kind of where I'm going with Kang, where I'm like, is Kang someone that likes to operate behind the scenes? Because this person, whoever it is, they don't want the attention. They want the power without the vulnerability of being front center.
Mhm.
So I just don't know enough about Kang to be like, what's his personality?
Mhm.
Are we a good match? Like, what's going on?
Do we swipe right? Do we swipe left?
What do you do?
Yeah, what do you do? Because he unlike Thanos, he's not made any kind of appearance.
Yes.
In an end credit scene, in a end credit scene, in any way, there haven't been reference dropped unless we're not looking hard enough. And I'm not. going to be watching the episodes to comb them for clues in the amount that some people on the internet are. I'm not
Yeah.
interested in that level, but I will say that I believe it is him
Okay.
because there's a lot of speculation, I guess, in the journalist front in the media,
Mm.
where actor Jonathan Myers
Oh
is
yes, he's playing
rumored.
Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp, I think.
Yeah.
Quantum Realm. I think that's the first film he's coming up in, but I would love a cameo by him. Also, we love him.
Mm-hmm. Like he's done a lot of one okay tangent Lovecraft Country. Jesus.
Did you hear what happened yesterday? They canceled it. Yeah, they canceled it, which is like, okay, on one side, Lovecraft Country was just one book, and so like I guess it quote had an ending, but they were talking about this back in like October now, almost a year ago. They're like, we're gonna try and, expand beyond the scope of the book and try for a season two, and they canceled it. I am so mad.
Yeah, I'm angry too.
That was the coolest show of 2020, like so unique and just like, oh, I loved it.
That was a show that I'd heard about, lamented not being able to watch it. And then after I had subscribed to HBO and Crave in
Yep.
order to review the Snyder Cut, realized that Lovecraft Country was on Crave. So I was like,
Yes.
she watching it. One, creepy as hell. Two, the best.
It's so good.
Oh,
Like the
Journey Smollett. What a cutie. Oh.
she's amazing. Yeah, that
Mhm.
show, like, and all the different types of horror they brought to you, like child
Oh.
horror, body switching horror, haunted house horror. Like,
Anime, hentai, tentacle horror.
oh my God, I forgot about that one. Yeah, like it was so good. Like, I guess maybe it's good to leave it on a high note. I'm just saying they could have tried for a season two, even if it was just a small like 6 episode thing. I would have been so about it. I'm
Okay,
mad.
okay.
So, anyways, yeah, Jonathan Myers.
Okay. So
Hmm.
we welcome him to the universe if he does eventually fess up to the fact that we know he's like, we get it. He's playing Kang, but he's like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. He's doing a lot. He's like putting in the work to deny who he has been cast as.
That's when you know you've made it.
And
When you
yeah.
can like pretend to deny to be in a Marvel film, like, that's not me. I don't know where those rumors are coming from. That's when you know you've made it. And they think you're in a Marvel property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what was the original thought that led us into this? Into
Well,
this?
he's playing Kang, and we hope to maybe see him cameo. I think that's where you're going with it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do we? So, do we need to break down the different Loki variants that we're seeing in the mid credit scene? Because I think those are
Yes. Oh,
iconic.
yes. So that was my like honorable mention,
Oh,
favorite awesome thing that's happening because I'm sitting here. This is the fifth episode. I was like,
fourth.
I know
This is
that there
fourth.
fourth, sorry, and
Yeah.
I know that there's only six, and I've seen scenes with Mobius in them
She's
and
back.
Loki, so we know they're both hanging around somewhere.
Well, it looks like they're hanging around New York City, or at least Loki is.
So, some other intrepid internet dwellers, we'll call them
Mm.
YouTubers, have figured out that the New York that Loki is now sitting in post credits is the New York from the 2018 Avengers timeline because they've compared models for the Avengers hangar.
You are lying.
I'm not.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I knew it was the Avengers hangar, but I didn't go so far as to figure out which year it was from or it could have been from. Like I again, like I said, I'm not that invested. I'm just here I'm just here to shake. I'm just here to be shook.
I'm just here
Um
to cause drama.
yes. Cause drama, talk about it, and shake.
Yeah.
So they had looked at, they're like, well, that's not the Avengers hangar from this time period, because they had not put the Quinjet pad up on the top of the on the top of the building. But if you look in Infinity War,
Yep. That's 2018. Yeah.
they had already installed the Quinjet pad. This Avengers hangar has a Quinjet pad, so they've transported him into some kind of timeline that's happened after Infinity War.
Okay. So, okay, because my initial thought was they brought him to 2012 New York during the Chitauri alien invasion. Is it? Yeah.
Mhm.
So that was my thought, because I just saw New York and I automatically now associate a desolate New York with Loki, because that's what he's known for in the MCU, kind of.
Yeah.
But thinking about the 2018 New York, that scene, I'm trying to think, that is when Spider-Man and Iron Man and Doctor Strange and Wong fight Ebony Maw, and I can't remember the other Thanos child. But is that the scene you're referring to? Like that is the New York. Either it might take place right after that fight or something, or
Yeah, or sometime in there. I'm honestly
okay.
not totally sure. I just know that I think it was the one where like Iron Man, is that the one where Iron Man takes like a nuclear bomb?
With Spider-Man, yeah, the two of them go into space and follow Ebony Maw because Ebony Maw has Doctor Strange.
That's it. Okay. Yeah, that's the one.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, if that's the general like time frame that he's in, I'm interested. I don't expect though any of those heroes to show up. I don't expect to see Spider-Man or Robert Downey. Like I would be gagged beyond belief, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Mhm.
So we'll
But we
see.
could speak it into
We
existence.
can manifest it.
Mhm.
Oh, speaking of which, apparently there's a show on Netflix called Manifest. Have you heard of this?
Yes, I watched the first episode, died, and
Okay.
then have not picked it back up again.
Is it worth it? I've heard like a lot of people are talking about it online.
Well, here's the T, sis.
Hmm.
And T stands for tangent at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get a bunch of people, they're sitting on a plane and everything is normal. And then when they land, they are greeted by terrified people, shocked people. Oh, hello, sir. He can't even hear me.
That's probably a good thing.
He can't hear me sexually harass him on our podcast. Um, a welcome cameo by our ghost producer, I'll say.
Yeah. Our executive producer behind the scenes.
Yeah, so you turned just now, and this is the second tangent within a tangent. Are your earbuds mint green?
They're seafoam green. This is seafoam.
Ah,
This is dirty freshwater seafoam green. Great Lakes
mhm.
inspired. Great Lakes line.
Yes, she is a biologist, through and through.
Through and through.
Um, so okay, so they get off the plane and they're greeted by disbelief. Every single buddy that is down
Oh.
there is like, they're like, what's going on? We're just on a flight. It had to be diverted, so they had to be like unload, not in the normal plane way.
Yeah.
I don't fly a lot, if you could tell. um, eh, so they're like, again, what's going on? They're like, we just been on a 6-hour flight. We just want to get home. And the man who walks up to them, who sort of looks like chief of police, is like, here's the problem. You haven't been on a you feel like you are telling me you've been on a 6-hour flight. This flight has been missing for 6 years and you're all presumed dead.
Wow. That's the tip of the iceberg.
And then that's where the first episode ends. And I'm like,
Okay. Okay.
or
I've
maybe
heard a lot of people talk about it on social media, and I'm like, what is this? And it finally, I didn't know what platform it was on. I'm like, why? But there's already 2 seasons apparently. So how the hell did I miss the first season? There's 2 seasons.
maybe it was on Hulu and we're like not American enough.
Oh, that I hope that's the case, because I just don't like when things get by me.
Mhm. But
I like to be
also,
on top of it.
today we're on the bottom, which is also fine.
We do
It's
it.
boring. It's boring, but it's fine. I didn't realize there were two seasons. That's
That
crazy. Oh, that means that there's a lot to watch, though. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have to catch up on all my other stuff first, All Stars and all that stuff. But yes, okay, that's good. I'll put it on, and that'll be my show to watch while I wait for the next episode of Loki to drop, which should be next week.
Oh, before we move on, which episode of Buffy are you on?
Oh my God, I am on season 6, episode 11. Willow is on her bullshit. She is obsessed with the magic. I see the path she's going down. She hasn't quite hit Dark Willow yet, but her eyes have gone black a couple times. So I'm here for it. We love a heel turn. We love a heel turn. So we'll see what happens. But I don't even know what's going on with Buffy anymore. She's always like crying about something, and same with Dawn. Xander and Anya are preparing for their wedding, which is cute. And Tara's still alive. And yes, I know what happens to Tara, but I mean, at this point, she's still alive. So I don't know what's happened yet, but I know we're going to get Dark Willow soon-ish. Okay.
Oh, I can't. Oh, God. Do we start a Buffy podcast? I don't know.
I mean, first of all, I'm drinking from my Buffy mug today. Don't know if you noticed. I think I need to rewatch the series again to make any sort of like intelligible commentary about it as a whole, because it's more than I realized. Like, it's a dense show. There's a lot going on there, a lot of themes, a lot of movements, a lot of opinions. But it's great. I love Buffy. Can't believe I didn't like fully watch it when it was first on. It was a little scary for me, but yeah, I'm here for it.
It took until high school for me to get right back into it. And it also took it moving to UPN for me to get right back into it too, because I did not.
Okay, Speaking of which, when it moves networks, you can tell because the sex content is ramped up to like 11. You can tell instantly the episode they switched over. They all start like fucking, and it's like, that wasn't on the WB. Like, what happened? Yeah, it's crazy. Like,
right?
the tonal shift, it was very noticeable.
Okay, so back to our hiatus. What will I be watching during our hiatus? Ooh, I've been watching Panic on Amazon Prime.
I've heard of that.
All of these relatable / I'm 15 plus years older than some of these kids, but like these little high school horror drama thriller shows are insane. Also, I can highly recommend the comedy thriller Run, starring Donald Gleason and Merritt Wever. It was quick. It was cute.
Who is Donald Gleason? I know that name.
He plays one. I love a redhead. 2, he plays Bill Weasley, but he also plays General Hux in
Run.
The new Star Wars.
Run. I've watched Run with Merritt Wever. I know who Merritt Wever is. Yes, I don't think we fully followed through with that, but I didn't hate it. It's on HBO. It's an HBO show.
Yeah.
Okay.
The premise is like, it's fucked.
I remember it.
Yeah, it's like maybe we all didn't have these packs when we were young, but like I didn't have a marriage ruining pact with like my college / university boyfriend to like drop everything and everybody if he asked me to run away with him. Like, that's just weird.
That's just fun, messy behavior.
It was definitely alcohol fueled when they came up with that.
Oh, 100%.
But anyway, we love a good story, but mostly those stories have endings.
Me too.
And and I've closed all those university chapters at this point. Anyway,
speaking of endings, take it away.
We'd like to thank you for listening to the Full Volume podcast. We see you, Germany, Belgium.
Thanks, Belgium. Thanks, Australia.
Yeah, everybody in the other part of the earth who's listening. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We see you. We hear you. Well, we don't hear you, but I mean, okay. We love you. That is the point I'm trying to make. Okay, keep listening because we will try to keep it funny and fun and fresh.
And funky. Funky fresh.
Yeah. You can let me know if I should dye my hair too. Okay. But we want to thank everybody for listening, and you can continue to listen on Our YouTube channel, you can watch this and all of our video podcasts on the Comic Book Syndicate YouTube channel, and you can listen to the audio version of this podcast on the Comic Book Syndicate network. Just search Full Volume Podcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, pretty much wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. I would like to thank the best co-host in the world, Harvey Brent.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. We didn't even open this thing, did we?
They should know by now.
Yeah.
They've been known.
Mm-hmm.
They had hearses.
Yeah. And until next time, keep it real. Wait.
Whoa.
Keep
What
it
happened?
loud.
Keep it loud. Keep it at full volume.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh dear.
Rough landing. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.